everyone. Welcome to today's webinar. My name is Leah Michella, and I am an Associate Director with the Pathways to Prosperity Network with Jobs for the Future. Jobs for the Future is a national nonprofit, and Pathways to Prosperity is really focused on creating and developing college and career pathways across the country. So we are really excited to be partnering with Education Systems Center and at Northern Illinois University for this webinar series. Hopefully you were able to tune into our first webinar where we talked about the Postsecondary Workforce Readiness Act for the state of Illinois, as well as the College and Career Pathways Endorsements that are part of the PWR Act. If you haven't seen that, we hope that you'll be able to go back and share that. But in that webinar, we talked about the endorsements as well as the aligned competency statements as part of those endorsements. Today, we're really excited to share a little bit about how those industry-aligned competency statements are used in action. So I'm going to introduce my colleague, John Furrier, who's going to share a little bit more about this work, as well as introduce our presenter today.
Thank you, Leah. Again, everyone, I'm John Furrier. I'm the Executive Director of Education Systems Center at Northern Illinois University. Our center has been instrumental in developing and driving the implementation of the Postsecondary and Workforce Readiness Act throughout the state of Illinois. And it's really been our pleasure to work with dozens and dozens of communities that are deeply engaged in this work. But there is no community within the state of Illinois that is as much of a champion of all elements of the Postsecondary and Workforce Readiness Act as is Belvidere School District 100, who is doing some incredibly exciting things with competency-based learning, with supporting students to avoid remedial education, and also implementing college and career pathway endorsements in an incredibly robust way. So it's my absolute pleasure to be able to introduce you to Nick Boutinhoff, who's Director of Career Readiness at Belvidere School District 100. And Nick has really been leading their efforts to put in place their pathway systems and to engage with the competencies that we talked about in the first installment of this webinar series. So Nick, with that, I'm going to turn it over to you.
Appreciate that, John, and love being introduced as champion. That is awesome, and appreciate that introduction. So today, what I'm going to talk about here is our work in District 100 in Belvidere and developing pathways using industry-aligned competencies. And, excited to share the work that we're doing. And given at the point of this recording is right smack dab in the middle of summer, thought about I'd liven up the title for this presentation a little bit. And so I want to talk about a little bit today developing pathways in the alignment challenge. That just didn't quite meet the excitement level I was going for this presentation. So I'm going to go with District 100 and the Sorcerer's Industry Aligned Competencies, with a shout out to Harry Potter series there, because the industry aligned competencies that I'm going to talk about that were developed by Jobs for the Future and Ed Systems really have worked like magic here in Belvidere and the work that we're doing implementing college and career pathway endorsements. And so my name is Nick Boutinhoff, as John mentioned. I'm the Director of Career Readiness here in Belvidere, and my job really is centered around the Postsecondary Workforce Readiness Act, which was spoken about in a previous presentation. And our district over the past couple years has really, over the past 10 years really, has been taking steps towards this idea of thinking about education differently and thinking about education in more of a student-centered approach with the idea around a competency-based ed system. And so when the PWR Act got released, we were all over that. District 100 is a pilot district to think about how we do education differently in a competency-based model. And about 2 years ago, when that legislation passed, 3 years ago now, one of our assistant superintendents, Dave Carson, went to our superintendent, Dr. Wiesman, and said, "Hey, I can help with this competency work. It's a lot of work, but if we want to focus on pathways, that really is a full-time job. Development of career pathways is really a full-time job," is what Dave said to Dan. Dan's response was, "Hey, that sounds like a T-shirt." No, he said, I agree with you. So that's the creation of my job. And my job is to really champion the implementation of career endorsements in District 100, the development of career pathways in District 100. And so here are the different endorsement choices that our freshmen have chosen this past school year and that we're working to develop. And so the question is, what is an endorsement, and how we think about that in Belvedere is, look, the goal of high school is to get your high school diploma. In order to do that, you should have a plan. Part of the plan is to have goals around academic success. You should have professional learning experiences. You should have the opportunity to complete a sequence of career-focused courses. As to say, I pick an endorsement area, I should be able to take courses that allow me to pursue that interest. And if you do all of those things, that would result in an endorsement. And so our district has done a lot of things to kind of make that endorsement real. We've made videos on our website explaining what endorsements are, what the different career sequences, pathway sequences that we have. We've made videos about that. We've hung different posters up around our buildings to help our young people start thinking about which endorsement area they might want to pursue, with information around how they might identify themselves and how they might align their interests to an endorsement area. And then we've also given all of our students a career guide that outlines what endorsements are and the process to choose an endorsement and what that all means, and information about careers and jobs given an endorsement selection that they might make. So you can see here different information about annual earnings, different employers locally that opportunities might be for a student to pursue a career with. And then you can see in the bottom right-hand corner, if this is the endorsement and pathway that they want to go, what's my next steps? What courses should I take? And then we've created, instead of our lengthy paper version of our course catalog, we've put all of this information on a district website, courses.district100.com. If you watch and want to check that out, you can take a look and watch our different videos that we've created, browse through the career guide that I've outlined there for you, and see different things that we have going on here. The idea being, look, young people nowadays, when they want to learn something, when I want to learn something nowadays, I start clicking around, doing different, looking at things on the internet, and so we've made those changes. All great additions to help us think about endorsements and making that real for our students. And I've got a big camera here to say that that's really work around the big picture. The big camera, big picture, the idea of identifying what interest I might have, how that might align to a career interest in what endorsement area, that's the big picture work. It's great and it's exciting. But I want to talk about getting into the weeds a little bit more here. So if I choose a career, if I'm a student and I want to pursue a career in manufacturing, and I want to pursue the manufacturing endorsement area, let's get into the weeds a little bit and identify what that actually means. And when you do that, when you're developing pathways in schools, what I think a big challenge is in this work is what I call the alignment challenge. So if you're developing career pathways that start in secondary schools, the challenge here is alignment of all of these bullet points. The idea of what is that experience of high school, and how does the experiences that I have as a student, how does that align to what the current industry-wide trends are? Is my classes and the skills I'm learning in line with that? Is it actually preparing me for a career after school? And then also, I have to, as a director of career readiness, I have to align those industry-wide trends to also meet local economic needs, right? Like the goal of schools is to develop our local workforce as well. And so I have to align not only to industry-wide, but also local economic needs. And then the third part of this alignment challenge is that I'm aligning to the training that a student would need to get to pursue that career, and so to align to a post-secondary training programs in some way. And then lastly, but this is a big hang-up, I think, in developing pathways in schools, is how does all of that meet up with local education initiatives? Every school district across the state, country, or what have you, has their own little spin on what education is or what that experience is for students, and they have different initiatives that are going on. So how do we align all of those things? So the alignment challenge is what we're going to talk about. I might say that I want to develop a manufacturing pathway in our schools. It's not that simple to say I'm going to create a manufacturing pathway and have a go at it. I have to first ensure that I'm in alignment, my pathway that I develop for our students is in line with industry-wide trends. And so when I was interviewing for my position, one of the questions is, what is one of your key strategies that you would do as Director of Career Readiness at Belvidere School District, and my answer was I would use all of the things that the state is developing for us. I would copy those things. And the question is why? It's because that saves time. And if you think about this, here are the list of technical skill competencies that were developed by Ed Systems and Jobs for the Future. And you think about this, how can I, as a Director of Career Readiness, meet the networking capabilities of Jobs for the Future and the Pathways to Prosperity Network? Why would I try to compete with that when really Ed Systems, that combination of Ed Systems and Jobs for the Future, they are looking to support the work of Pathways for schools. And so my strategy is, if this is what they've used, using the network that they have involving employers from across the state, and these are the skills that those employers have identified, let's use those. Let's develop Pathways with this as our premise. And if I do that, I'm matching that first part of that alignment challenge, the current industry-wide trends. If this is what our employers are saying across the state are the skills that our young people need, or would it set them apart, is it with an endorsement in manufacturing, then that's what I'm going to use as my standard operating procedure. That's going to be the basis, the core, the roots of my pathway in manufacturing District 100. So for lack of a better term, check there on meeting current industry-wide trends, meeting the alignment challenge. So then the question becomes, how do I match that up with local economic needs? So what I did was here in Belvidere, if you've ever driven through our area, you'll see Fiat Chrysler is a big part of, big manufacturer here in town. A lot of different manufacturers feed into that. We have a good, strong manufacturing economy here in Belvidere. And so I brought in different local employers into the central office here and asked them this question. If District 100 students got an endorsement in manufacturing, what should they know or be able to do? And we just did a brainstorming with those employers, and they came up using sticky notes, these different ideas. They came up with things like they should know about print reading, they should know about the assembly process, they should know things about just-in-time delivery. And we established we just brainstormed all these different ideas of what the students should know. And I told those employers, I said, here is what the state has come up with as far as skills. And I explained to them the process that they went through there. And we did this activity where across the white there, the white sticky notes are the technical skill competencies that are listed here. And we took the local employers' yellow sticky notes, and we looked to see, does it fit? Does what they say locally, what skills you should have locally, does that fit within the state perspective? And you can see all of the yellow sticky notes fall under the white. And so what I declared victory on is, hey, if we develop a pathway in manufacturing, for example, using the technical skill competencies that have been provided to us, that will also meet and match up to local economic needs, thus moving me forward in my challenge, the alignment challenge. So then becomes the challenge of aligning to post-secondary training. Do the skills that our students get, do those skills match up to the post-secondary training that they would need to get? So here what you see is some courses that we have in existence in District 100 that we would be part of our manufacturing pathway. And so we have an activities technology course, an overview of careers there in this field, and then a drafting course, and then we're looking to create a new course, probably something called like Introduction to Manufacturing. And working with Rock Valley College, our community college partner, we identified which courses there at the community college would be good opportunities to offer early college credit, dual or articulated credit with in our schools. And we came up with this list here, MET 100, 106, and 110. So our drafting, we aligned to their introductory CAD and print reading. And when we create a new course, Introduction to Manufacturing, which will start next school year, it would be, the idea thought there would be, it would essentially be their RVCs 106 and 110. And that's exciting. That's 9 of 15 credits towards a CAD reading certificate at Rock Valley College. Good stepping stone for students graduating in District 100. And so when we consider alignment to post-secondary training, we then took and we looked at, okay, here is the list of skills. I asked the professors, instructors at Rock Valley College, I said, in what class do students master these skills? And we came up with the list here. And so you can see the different class numbers for the courses there. And when we really examined this and we looked at this, we realized, okay, 100, that's one of the courses we have in our sequence. 110, that's a course that we have in our sequence. 133 is not, and there's nothing that shows up that's that 106 metrology course. And so what we realized is maybe that course isn't in alignment, and we should swap it out with the 133 course. And so what that does is ensure that our courses that we're offering as early college credit are in line with the technical skills that our employers have said that our skills need to be proficient in. And so we're kind of really matching up that alignment with the post-secondary training. And manufacturing is not the only time that this happened. Here's our look at our proposal for what our business course sequence would look like. Intro to business leads into virtual enterprise, and then the senior year we would offer RVC courses, principles of management, principles of marketing. Now we ran into a hiccup here, marketing. We didn't have a teacher qualified that didn't meet the college qualifications for that, so we switched that out to principles of advertising and have that as our proposed sequence. We did the same thing. We looked at the technical skill competencies for finance and business services area and realized, geez, nothing on there really speaks to advertising, principles of advertising. But you can see here a couple show up about customer care or customer relationship management. Maybe we should have something that scratches that itch. And so we swapped out that principles of advertising course for a customer relations course, thus aligning our courses to our post-secondary training partner. Check on the alignment challenge. Really exciting work. And really thankful that we're not just offering, I think this is an important point, not just offering dual credit for dual credit's sake, but offering dual credit as a way to ensure that what our students are learning in our high schools prepare them for whatever post-secondary training they would need for whatever career they might be interested in. That's really exciting. And again, like magic, those technical skill competencies allowed us to do that. So now let's talk about, okay, this is the toughest one, right? Like, how do we do all of this? How do we match that up to what's going on locally in our buildings, our local education initiatives here in Belvedere? And so one day, I got a phone call from our CAD teacher. He said, Nick, I want you to take a look at something. I want you to tell me if I'm thinking about this right. And I walked into, so I went over to Belvedere High School. I walked into his classroom, and in his classroom on his whiteboard, he had this drawing with the state tape there on the left, the technical skill competencies that he received at a presentation that I gave. He said, you know, I'm thinking about here our tech wing, the different classrooms in the tech wing. I'm trying to think about where we would teach those different competencies. And so I'm looking at these like equipment safety, spatial reasoning, and all these different things, and I'm thinking, here's where these would fit in the different areas. And I'm like, Ruben, that's awesome. That is exactly what we're talking about. And he said, this really helps me understand how to design my tech wing and how to ensure all of the spaces within that wing are teaching the skills that I want to make sure our students get. And he took that one step further. Remember, he teaches CAD, right? So now he's talking about showing me these drawings of how he wants to redesign the space. And we're working on redesigning our tech wing here. But the idea is we're matching up our redesign to the technical skill competencies that the employers have indicated our students need. That's really exciting. And that's a really good example of how these competencies are helping us meet our local initiatives. But let me get into the weeds a little bit deeper. Here in Belvedere over the past 10 years, I've been working with the Marzano group on the development of what we call proficiency scales. This is a movement of focusing on what are the skills that our students need to learn. And we use this language here in District 100. 4-3-2-1 scale, moving away from different ways of grading in the past. The idea of 3 is the goal. 3 is mastery, 4 exceeds, and 2 is approaching. So this is our language. And when we develop courses here and are aligning our curriculum, we go through unpacking the standards process, okay? And so you can see here the work that our curriculum department leads with our teachers on unpacking standards. And the result of that is what we call proficiency scale that you see here on the screen. These proficiency scales are what teachers use to help communicate to students and their parents where a student is in the development of the skills that they're learning in the classes. And the problem is we haven't been able to do that in pathway courses in career and tech ed because we don't have that set standards to begin the unpacking the standards process. And so what we've done here at Belvedere is use those technical skill competencies as our standards so that we can begin unpacking them and so that we can develop proficiency scales so that our career and tech ed teachers are using the same grading system that the rest of our district is using. Really exciting work, and you can see here as a result a proficiency scale for the fundamentals of sales, which is one of the skill competencies in finance and business. And here's another one for business operations, and that was worked on over this school year. Real super exciting work. Really proud of that because it's really helping us understand what are the things that we're teaching in our courses. And so we did that for each one of, we developed the proficiency scale for each one of these competencies. Then what we did is we said, okay, here's our sequence. This is our sequence of courses. And now we have our proficiency scales. Let's think about which of these scales gets taught in which of these courses, and then to go even deeper than that, to what level. So if 2.0 is approaching our introduction level, where do we do the introduction to that standard? In which class does that happen? And in which class should mastery occur of that standard? And what we did is we kind of laid that out over the sequence. And so what's really exciting here is you can see in our level 1 course, our intro to business course, they get introduced to a lot. That's the yellow. But they don't really master things. And so in level 2 in our virtual enterprise course, where students participate in kind of a virtual corporation, they get introduced to even more, and they begin to master some of the skills that are part of that competency. And then in our level 3 course, which would be our new course next year, Principles of Management and Customer Relations, that's where they really can show mastery in all of the skills and would be able to earn that endorsement. And so really like that because it shows kind of the progression of the students' learning of what we would expect students' learning to be over the 3-course sequence that we were developing there. Really exciting. A great example of matching up to our local initiatives. Another pathway that we're looking to develop, another example of how those competencies have really helped us, is our health sciences pathway. And so this fall, we're starting a new course, Introduction to Healthcare Occupations. And when I met with the teachers on that course, they posed the question, Nick, okay, so if we're developing a sequence, what's the goal? They asked me, what's the goal of our students learning at the end of the sequence? I showed them this. I showed them the health science and technology competencies developed by Ed Systems Jobs of the Future. Here's the goal. Our goal is to get our students mastery in these different skills. And so what our teachers said, oh, okay. So an introduction course then, looking at those skills, they might, in an introduction course, might master these competencies. So just learning some industry ethics and learning about different personnel and roles within a health science system. And so they are developing the curriculum for that course with that in mind. Here's an example of the proficiency scale that those teachers have developed over the summer. And another one there. Again, you can see up in the top right, that's the healthcare and occupations personnel and licensure. So now this helps our teachers understand what are the goals that we're teaching in that course and what are the skills that our students are learning. And so then as we look at developing this pathway out in the years to come, we can use that list of technical skill competencies and identify what some good courses might be for the years to come. And we would make sure, again, that we would do that using proficiency scales aligned to our local initiatives, but then we would align that to post-secondary training, part of the alignment challenge. And if we're using the technical skill competencies, we're doing so meeting industry-wide needs. And so yippee yay, yippee you, yippee us, yippee everybody, the alignment challenge has been met. And the only way that we've been able to do that, or we are doing that here in District 100, is by the use of the Sorcerer's industry-aligned competencies. Like magic, the alignment challenge has been met. And so just a shout out to Ed Systems Center, Northern Illinois University, and Jobs of the Future. Really, that work that they led and did in the development of those technical skill competencies has been huge. It's the magic potion we didn't know we really needed here in District 100, but it's really, really helped us move forward, saved us a lot of time, and it has really helped us make sure that all of the work that we're doing around pathways is in alignment. really appreciate your time and appreciate the opportunity to share the work that we're doing here in District 100. If you're watching this and you have more questions, please don't hesitate to reach out. I get excited about talking pathways, so would be happy to talk more about any of what you saw here or if you might have other questions. And again, encourage you to check out our courses.district100.com website. You can learn a lot about the district and the work that we're doing around pathways there. Again, thank you so much for the time. Really appreciate it. And hope you're having a great day, and hope that this helps you and your work around career pathways. And again, if we can help in any way, happy to do so. Thanks again.